Hello YouTubers. Today I'm going to talk about a different kind of walking stick than I usually make. I think it to be hawthorn. It's been out in the weather now for right at a year, and the bark is still hanging on. Really nice. It's not even started to come loose. Now when you run into a tree like that, sapling or whatever you want to call it, that has the bark that just hangs on like that, there's no need to really take it off when you can make a nice walking stick out of it. I'm going to show you today what I do with these when I find them like that, how I make a nice walking stick out of it that's not going to be very expensive to make, and just kind of let you know what you can do with those sticks that you find that's got a good tight bark on them that just don't want to come off. So let's get busy and we'll see what this one looks like. Well, I'm going to show you the first thing I do. Make sure I got me a nice piece of sandpaper that's not wore out, because we're going to have to do a lot of sanding on this end. What I do first is bring it right over to my belt sander, and I get right on making this kind of a rounded knob, and just leave the bark, let it fly the way it wants to. But I'm going to knock that corner off and kind of make an oval out right out of that your hand will be real comfortable on. So let's get started with that after I get my mask down. See what we've done, we've just rounded that up as much as the eyeball can stand right there. And you see that bark is just still real tight against there. And that's going to be nice. We'll put a little finish on that later on. And that's just going to be, that feels real good top of your hand. And that'll make a nice walking stick just like it is. We're going to go over and drill a hole in it now for a wrist strap. I'll tell you what, if you haven't already made you a V-block out of just a scrap 4x4 that you have left over from another project at least, just see how many uses you can have for that. It's just unlimited, and I use this for everything. And one of the things is right now, when you want to center up and drill a hole in anything just with your hand drill, this thing really comes in handy, because you can just hold it down level like that and drill your hole. Now I'm going to turn it around because just the leverage. I'm going to plant this fairly short pole, so I'm going to drill my hole not way down, not too far down, and there's a little knot right there that I'm going to drill right in the center of that, and that will just that will look like it's just made for that paracord that I'm about to put in there. You just square that up and get it looking straight up there. And I'm going to use a 7/32. My paracord is 5/32 that I use, and I am going to drill a 7/32 hole. And it's just going to go straight down through there. And it won't matter on this V-block. This is very hard wood, by the way. It's just real nice. And with my V-block, I really didn't care if I drilled through or not, because it's not going to hurt my old V-block here. Now I'm not going to chamfer that edge, but I'm going to go in reverse here to kind of get it smoothed out a little bit. That's going to look just fine. the way it is, because that bark, it's wanting to stay there, so let's just leave it stay there. But you see where that, I drilled right where that knot was at, and that's going to look just more natural right there. Of course, it's not going to come out in a knot, but right there, it looks like it's just coming right out of the knot by looking at it. So let's get busy now, and we'll put a finish on that. Before we put a paracord on, I just like to have a finish on them. I'm going to put a nice clear finish so we can enjoy that beautiful gray, and it's got some it's got some age spots on it there, and it's just a beautiful stick. I'm not going to do any sanding. You see, most of the limbs broken off and got healed up, and you just leave them right there on the bottom. Gives it a little character, and all the way down there's nothing sharp to really hurt you there, and it's going to do nothing but get smoother after we get a finish on it. So let's get busy and get that laid out, and I'll show you what it looks like. You see here, what I do first of all is put me a little eye screw. It's about a 1/4 inch diameter in the hole there. That's to hang it up on a wire hook that I have in my drying room. Get that out of the way. Make sure we have a place to hang it up where we can dry it real nice. And then I use this when I'm just wanting a good protective coat on something, and I want to enjoy the grain and the clear whatever we see. I'll use what's called Water Lux, and I'll put it in a little paper cup about the size of a shot glass, and I'll do that so I can handle it, just squeeze it and pour it back in the can what we have left. You see my table layout for finishing is just a paper napkin off of a roll, and I'll apply it with a foam brush. It don't leave streaks, it don't run too bad. I can turn it, as soon as I get it finished, I'll carry it in the room, turn it upside down, let it dry till in the morning, and it's going to be perfect. So let's get busy and just put the finish on it, and it's going to leave a nice clear finish over the wood and protect it from the weather, and it's going to stay beautiful for years to come. And we'll just look at the difference in it right now, and that'll go right down in the cracks of that beautiful grain wood that we have in this what I believe is hawthorn. I'll make sure the finish goes right down in between. Has a lot of cracked surface in the bark that you're looking at, and I'm telling you, this finish has brought out the natural color of the bark, and it really looks nice. And we'll see it tomorrow after it's dried, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But now, just keep wiping it on with that foam brush, and we get that, we'll take it in there and hang it up. So let's finish this out to the end, and we'll carry it in there and hang it up. The bark don't look too much different now than the day I brought it home, and it's been sitting outside in the weather for almost a year. So that bark is not going to come off of it by itself. And I just think it's beautiful the way it is, and it's going to make someone a very nice walking stick to be proud of. And we'll get that in good where I've sanded that, and that's all we did to it. Very simple. Now, I'm going to hang it up in the drying room to dry, which will be just a few seconds for you, but tomorrow is when we're going to look at it again. All we'll do is tie a paracord around there for a wrist strap, and take a look at it. So See you then. Well, here we are next day after finishing this bark on walking stick. You finish the bark, that kind of preserves it, and we have kind of a semi-sheen, and it just shows off the natural color of the bark. And what I like to do then is just go over it just real lightly with a 400 grit sandpaper, and I do that with all my sticks, no matter how much I sand on them or what, prior to finishing. And this gives a nice, slick, smooth finish that actually just smooths out the urethane or whatever you put on it. That gives it a nice, smooth finish. Now let's get right on with it now and put a piece of paracord. I use 5 30-second paracord, and see, I have a scrap piece here. I'm going to use, I thought it'd be real appropriate for the bark left on to use a camo paracord. That's what we're going to put on it today. We already have a hole drilled, so let's get that on and then we'll see what it looks like. Now I always start off with about 3 or 4 foot of paracord, so I have plenty to do what I want to do. And what I start with is just take my little hand torch here and make me close that in so it don't kind of ravel up on me, and I can stick it through that 7 30-second hole that I pre-drilled, pretty easy. It just goes right through there, not wanting to come out. There it is. Okay, we got it all the way through there now, and we'll let it roll over where it wants to. What I do now is get it about even here and get that down. Got this about even. It just run through the stick. Now what I do is just tie a knot and go right on the top here. I turn it over and I tie me another one. Tie that pretty snug. This is just for looks. You can run them through there and tie it off and forget it if you want, but this adds a little bit something to it. If you do that and then tie a square knot, you don't want a granny knot in it, you want a square knot in it. To do that, you got to go over and around. This is not a knot tying how-to video at all, but the square knot is really the one you're after here. They stay right where you want them. Now, we have a square knot there, and you see that's sort of tied all the way around. It just gives it a little bit of a look there. And now, if you started out with them even, they're still fairly even. Now what I want to do is sometimes tie a slip knot in them and leave plenty for any size wrist, but I just wrap that around here, and I want to tie half hitch around here for my slip knot. With a half hitch, that will slip through. We'll snug that down, and that does look like a half hitch there. Snug it up just a little bit. Then what you do, every time you go under and back down through, if you do it at the same time, you end up with another half hitch right here. But I tied my first half hitch, you can see that there, for the string to go through. Then I tie, where I have two coming out this side, I tie another half hitch that you can see right there. Now with that first one won't come loose, and it'll be snug enough to keep there. Now what I want to do now, cut that off right there somewhere. Then I'll take my torch and I'll burn that and flatten it down on there to where it don't come back through there, and make sure it's burned enough to where it kind of welds itself together there. Now we have this nice slip knot that goes in there. With it pulled all the way out, I just go out a couple inches and I cut that off. Take the torch again and I melt me a little ball on the end of that. Now I don't touch that, I just let it cool on its own. Now that can be quickly slipped up on any wrist. Let's take a look. Well, that's about it for this video, and the Bark On walking stick is finished. I have a nice round top here that feels good on the hand, really good here. Made my wrist strap where it's adjustable, and I forgot to mention one thing. I do wrap this around twice like I showed, put a square knot in there, but I take some thin super glue and I always put them on my knots when I'm done with them to make sure they don't slip out or come loose or anything. That's got a little drop of thin CA glue on it right there in that knot. Now that's not gonna, you'd have to cut it off, that's it. Now right here, it'll go right or left hand, and you can just cinch it right up there tight if you want it. Now, I'm gonna take it back out. We'll take a look. I think it looks pretty neat. It's a fairly straight stick, and it's about 50 inches tall. Comes to right about here on me. And I guess all I can say now is, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a like. And if you liked it real well and haven't already, I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down there. I'll see you in the next video.